Hello and welcome to the Media Leader podcast. I'm Omar Oakes. Welcome to today's big interview. And very quickly before getting into it, can I just say wow and thank you. First, wow for a huge response to our conversation with Nick Manning last week. It's already one of our most downloaded episodes of this podcast. And, we've done well over 100 episodes now. So that's pretty special. And thank you to everyone out there who has responded either on the site, themedialeader.co.uk, in the comment section, or on LinkedIn, which is our main social media account. And of course, people that got in touch directly. There seems to be a lot of appreciation for not just the depth we got into, Nick and I, but the episode was about an hour and a half. But also, I think they like the element of surprise. We hardly planned that conversation, so the topics flowed organically. We got into lots of interesting areas. I was particularly excited by this idea about the curation of the experience of advertising in media. If you know someone in the industry who would be great for us to talk to, please get in touch at omar.oakes@uk.adwanted.com. I'm always told that people have short attention spans and that we need to focus on producing lots of short form stuff for creating. And it reminds me, I'm always being told that everyone's got short attention spans and, Omar, you really need to focus on producing lots of short form stuff for social. We often call it snackable content. But here's the thing about snacks. They don't fill you up. And personally, I would rather spend time creating a really great meal that takes a while to produce than mass manufacturing low calorie, low taste, low IQ stuff. And if you don't like it, you can take a number, write me a letter, and then go... Actually, no, I'm not going to finish that sentence. Let's move on to today's conversation, and it is brilliant. Definitely nothing low calorie about this one. It features Laura Jordan Bambach, who is one of the most renowned advertising creators in the UK. She was formerly Chief Creative Officer and President of the big WPP ad agency Grey, and has recently launched her own agency with two fellow female founders. It's called Uncharted. We also had Tom Curtis, who is Executive Creative Director at the media agency EssenceMediacom. Tom's been at Mediacom, as we used to call it, for ages, nearly a quarter of a century, and he's a rare thing nowadays. He's a senior creative at a media agency. It's definitely something that WPP does in the UK. If you caught our special series about the future of marketing with Bloomberg, you might remember Anne Wixley had the same job at Wavemaker. Tom also has a huge Instagram following, really interesting, check it out, nearly 1 million followers, where it's very creative. It's all about making stuff. He launched it in his spare time, something to do with his kids, and it's just blown up. It's really interesting. Our conversation was about the future of creativity in marketing and how media choices can happen much more meaningfully. Is it possible? Instead of what usually happens, an ad agency sells an idea to a brand, and then the media agency is then told essentially to plan and buy the media for whatever that big idea was that was sold. How about this? What if you started with an approach where you think about where audiences are first, and they're more fragmented across different online media than ever before? That's a long-term trend, obviously. How about you go to where the audiences are and then iterate a big idea, or maybe multiple big ideas? Can this work? I asked them, can it work with multiple agencies who are all fighting to justify their specialty? What should marketers do? How should they manage that if that is the approach they want to take? It's a fascinating discussion. It's of a piece of how creativity in media is becoming such an interesting topic. And it's not just about AI, even though AI is part of it. Recently had news last week, as you've caught in our Thursday podcast with Jack and Ella, that Klarna put out in their financial report about how they just apparently saved double-digit figures of their marketing budget by using AI to mass produce lots of creative assets. Now, as wonderful as I'm sure that those assets are, there is definitely much more of a discussion of how technology is changing the game in terms of having perhaps a media-first approach to creativity where audiences are in different places. Not only can you use technology to create the creative assets better, but if you're going to do things from a media point of view, there may be all sorts of technology that are going to be fundamental or at least additive in helping to plan for media as well. So it's going to be a big theme. This conversation took place at the Future of Brands, our event in London in April, and it was so good I couldn't not share it with you on the podcast. So enjoy, as always. I'd love to know what you think. omar.oakes@uk.adwanted.com. Now for our interview with Laura and Tom. So Tom is ECD at EssenceMediacom, which is an unusual thing for a media agency to have an ECD. What do you do? Are you stealing Laura's work? What are you doing?
Oh, right, straight in there. Am I eating Laura's lunch every day? No, I mean, it's not that unusual to have an ECD in a media agency anymore within all of the WPP agencies. I think pretty much sure.
And they're all awesome as well.
And they're all awesome. They are. Well, does that include me?
Yeah.
We do have ECDs. I mean, one of the reasons we have ECDs is because clients want us to be developing ideas for them. We're being asked for it. It's not because we said, oh, I've got an idea, here's a new revenue stream for us. There was an element of that many years ago. It was actually, I've been doing creative at EssenceMediacom for about 20 years. We set up a creative division within EssenceMediacom. It was obviously called Mediacom at the time, because the traditional creative shops weren't actually offering, or weren't really, they didn't really care about digital advertising at the time, and a lot of our clients desperately wanted their banners to go on time, to go live on time. So we went, okay, well, let's make a team, a production team that basically creates banner advertising and microsites and the things that I think was a bit of a blind spot for the creative agencies. That's 20 years ago, though, right? Now we are constantly being briefed on developing ideas. We are often pitching against the creative agencies, not because we necessarily want to, but because we're being asked to by clients.
Yeah.
So Laura Jordan Bambach, you were actually until recently a colleague sort of Tom's. You were running Chief Creative Officer at Grey. Now you've just launched. Just give a round of applause. Actually, she's just launched her own agency.
3 weeks in.
A trio of female founders. Uncharted is the name. Yes. So with that in mind, explain how creative agencies maybe being sidelined from a lot of projects. How are you going to appeal to marketers in 2024 and beyond?
Well, I think the story with Uncharted anyway, and with the three of us, is we come from very digital backgrounds. So you're saying the creative agencies would overlook that. My background is being that agency that, I think I've won all my D&AD pencils for banners, which is a shocking thing to say.
Oh, very good.
Back in the day. So, and from very big sort of tech businesses that were, building banking platforms and doing the media and doing the content. So I've always worked in a really fluid and collaborative way, which I think was never the case with the more kind of traditional creative agencies. It was always a walled garden. My pain was always you would get given something and it was like, go make it work in digital. It's like, but there's no idea there. What you've given me is a film, and I've got no rights to use the person in the film, and I can't, et cetera, et cetera. So part of actually building Uncharted is going back to, with all the experience now that the three of us have had in more integrated places, how do we build, I guess, partnerships, sort of collabs with really interesting media agencies. We've got a formal partnership with Skyrise, who are amazing, but actually we're putting together a lot of different partnerships. How do you bring them into something that feels more like a community? So we were actually just talking last night about the fact that I want the best, most interesting performance marketing people in that community working day to day with my creatives, because that's where the great ideas come from. And all the best work I've done has been when media and creative are working hand in hand. I think that kind of separation is really painful for everyone, because you tend to then just get same old, and people are kind of fall into bad habits, where actually, if you can sit in a room and it's amazing what a brilliant media creative can do to make something that you think might work actually really sing with the audience.
Yeah. But the tension always is between what a marketer wants versus the agencies that they can work with and can get stuff done. So the tension always is, so WPP has been very good at creating these integrated one client accounts, Team Red, Vodafone, Walgreen Boots Alliance, things like that. My understanding is they don't tend to work that well. Well, in general, some do. I'm not singling out WPP. We're going to hear some examples from our panel later about where it does work well. But agency people, creative people in particular, they want to work on lots of different briefs.
Well,
So if you're a marketer, how do you get people in a room together, working for different agencies, incentivized to just create great work, creative and media working together?
like, honestly, I think it is about great leadership. It comes from the top. And I've been part of those WPP teams, which have worked brilliantly because there's been a really brilliant team in the centre that has been open and collaborative and have shared things and pulled down the, and sometimes actually, because in my role at Grey, I was also president, is actually looking at commercial deals between the agencies behind the scenes to make sure that that's all sorted first so you can just get on with it and work as a team. I've worked in some which haven't worked, but it's very much to do with, I think, the people at the top and how it's structured and how much they kind of, trust each other.
I've got to...
Isn't the marketer skeptical, Tom, from your side in terms of, the media the media agency wants to sell me, they make money off the media placement, so that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Creative agencies are usually focused on 30-second TV ads. That's where the big idea tends to come from.
60s.
That drives me crazy. It's like, can you do that? Thank you. Here's a 90-second ad, but we don't have 90-second spaces. Great.
Okay, well, but first of all, wait a minute. I mean, you made a point about the Open X model, for example, for Coke, or Farm for Boots. I mean, obviously, I'm going to sit here and say, well, they work brilliantly well within WPP. Actually, thank you, Laura, because you also said they work pretty well. They work well when they've got absolute, clear goals, committed goals where they all know what they're doing. They've been told what they want to do by the clients, and there's little competition because they've got a common goal. That's why it works well.
So it's the marketer's fault when it doesn't work well.
That's a challenging question. In some cases, yes, it is, because the marketers are the puppet masters in a lot of these things. We're building these models for our big global clients, right? And one of the reasons for that, there are many reasons, but one of the reasons is because the clients want control over their, over multiple different markets with multiple different agency relationships, and obviously centralising it gives them that control. And a common goal amongst the agencies. So that's that first point. The point about the creative agencies want to make a telly ad, the media agency wants to do something that's not quite just a telly ad, etc., etc. Obviously, one of the reasons why there is tension between creative and media agencies because they indeed want different things. They've got different models. I mean, there's no one's going to disagree with that, right? Everyone in this room that's got any kind of understanding of how the industry works is going to agree that they don't often work very well together, particularly when they're outside of a holding company and when they're competitive holding companies. But they should work better together, and it is ultimately often down to the marketer to make sure that they do work.
So what
together.
does the marketer in 2024 and beyond? What does the marketer need to do to make sure that they can work with the fantastic agencies and talented people? What do they make it really easy? What do they need to do to get the best work out of you?
I mean, my favourite clients of the last kind of 4 years actually have been Kellogg's, and the work that we've been doing with Kellogg's. The media agency was not part of WPP, but the structure that they put in place made it impossible for us not to collaborate. Actually, it's helped. Like I said, there were some brilliant people their side, brilliant people at our side. Some really great people kind of on the consulting side as well, trying to help find those new audiences to help their brands grow. And we did really brave, really exciting work that also was incredibly effective because of that collaboration. But it was the client at the top saying, like, I don't want to see a piece of work that is not a collaborative piece of work. I don't want you to give me a media plan and you to give me an idea. What is the magic that the two of you are going to bring to me together? And that bit of rigor, I mean, moved that brand on phenomenally. So,
if you get, I mean, it's an obvious point. Sorry for saying an obvious thing, but you got to brief the two agencies together, right? Still, very often, and of course, there are many examples where we do have brilliant relationships with competitor agencies, and there are some where it's it's a bit more challenged. But when we get briefed together, we know that it's not going to be 3 months down the line and we're going to be handed a telly script and they're said, right, well, they're going to make a 60-second telly ad.
I guess or the other way around, where it's like, fill the media plan. You're like, I'm just filling holes.
Yeah, well, yes, but obviously I would argue that the media targeting is a very, very critical thing, and on offering those holes or surfaces or other words that sometimes creative agencies use is I wouldn't advocate it. I would rather it be briefed together. I've got a slightly different view in all of this because, of course, as you said, I'm an ECD at EssenceMediacom, and when I walk into a room with an ECD or a chief creative officer from a creative agency, they either look me up and down and go, "Who the fuck are you?" or they, or actually they go, "Well, I don't want you in the room anyway." So there's because ultimately I am there to usually offer an alternative view. We don't make telly ads at EssenceMediacom. We make brilliant ad-funded TV shows. We do incredible influencer content through now our partner Goat. We do fantastic media partnerships or brand partnerships. An example being the Pre-Loved Island thing we did with eBay. Again, a brilliant client that does get us involved at the right time and wants to do that type of work. So we're not really there to eat lunch, but what we are there to do is to go, but is this really what you should be doing? Should you really be, this whole thing about starting with a telly script? I don't buy that. Yep. because the market has dramatically changed, and that is not how audiences are consuming our content anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm currently reading a book that came out about 5 years ago. It's called Frenemies by Ken Arletta. Anyone heard of that? No, getting blank faces. No, it's a really good book actually. If you want to read about the history of the industry, because of course there was one place where you used to have it. Agencies like Ogilvy, JWT, they were actually doing creative and media. So it was actually Martin Sorrell and Marion Harper and those sorts of people who actually created this model where you break up creative and media.
I think it's the saddest thing that has ever happened.
Well,
to
that's
our
why I want to
industry.
ask. I mean, how do you see things going forward now? Is it actually more integrated agencies, or is it more we just need to get better at working together in collaborative partnerships, making, yes, we need specialists, but they need to work better with other specialists?
Yeah, I mean, look, the fact that we don't collaborate as well as we should as a whole in the industry is not to anyone's benefit. Something that frustrates the hell out of me constantly. It's like you have incredible people in these other areas who will literally make the work better. Why wouldn't you want to work together to make that happen? But there is, as always, like a lot of P&Ls, a lot of ego, a lot of other things that get in the way of us doing properly groundbreaking work in a lot of the time. And then you end up, like I was saying, with the kind of same old, and no one is very happy, and we're not giving value back to the clients. And then the clients are like, well, I'm going to replace you with AI because we're not showing our value. I mean, I could talk about this for hours. It drives me bonkers.
Yeah. And I think, how it's going to move forward, how it should move forward is the fact that, we're obviously seeing consolidation within holding companies. We talked about, OpenX and Farm and whatever else. That's a very good solution for a lot of those big global clients. And, if marketers want what everyone wants, I think everyone wants a better integrated, more reconciled kind of process between creative and media, then they've got to make it happen. Because we do want different things very often. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're absolutely aligned with the creative agencies, but often we're pushing back and going, well, this might not be the right solution. So the marketer's got to take control of that situation and go, I'm going to do that and I'm going to do that.
Yeah, and creativity and making work is messy. Coming back to actually what Naomi and Ali were talking about diversity being key to, and having these different points of view, different backgrounds, different expertise in the room. The more different those people are, the better the work is going to be, but it is going to be a little bit more confrontational and a bit messier because that's what creativity is. And I think we should not be scared of that and not race to kind of the cultural consensus of that's a great idea, yes, that's a great idea, get it out the door. But just spend a bit more time listening to other people's points of view.
Thank you very much. Big hand for these two. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again for listening to the Media Leader podcast. If you like what you hear, guess what? You can read our stuff at our website, themedialeader.co.uk, where you can sign up to our daily newsletter in the UK of analysis, opinion and commentary about what's going on in media and advertising. You can also find us on YouTube. We are posting video interviews and clips from our live events. And don't forget to check out our LinkedIn page, which is often a very interesting way to see what people in the industry are saying about our articles and the issues we write about. Anyway, get back to work. Catch you next time. Bye bye.